Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Africa Straight Talk. We are Africa's unapologetic podcast that brings you discussions of matters of the African continent and the diaspora in a very unique and straightforward way. My name is Edwin Okongo, and we thank you for your unwavering support of our podcast. My co-host today is my colleague, my paisana, my compatriot, Haboshi Imbukwa, who is also the producer and editor of our show. Emmanuel Nadal couldn't find his computer charger today, and our and our guest host, Kwesi Wilson, is still on a Kelewele food coma in Ghana. Why are you laughing before I finish? You were supposed to mute yourself, Abush.
I know. I couldn't help it. Like our two West African brothers.
Yeah. They're all absent.
What is going on?
And what a lame excuse. You know, whenever I make up stuff, I go like, you know what? You know, my kid has got some school things, And so
now we know, huh?
I mean, that's not.
But
he's like, but serious, like he's like, Nado is like, oh, I forgot it at the studio for the Africa Mix show that he and I do. He was there on Saturday, but I can't find. But I'm gonna go tomorrow, and I thought he was gonna say, "Oh, and pick it up," and he goes, "No, I'm gonna go buy another one tomorrow." And so I have one nearby, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, he lives next to the Apple store in Walnut Creek. Why not walk in?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, hey.
But the Apple store is very expensive.
But you know what they say, right? You know
what?
In Africa, you do not fight those who taught you how to hold a spear.
Damn, that's deep. That's deep. Yeah, you know what? I do respect that.
Yeah. How have you been?
Me, surviving. Work.
Surviving? What do you mean surviving?
Man, Edwin, you know what work is, right? You go, you grind, you come back home. Yeah. Then there are all these issues at work that you didn't think would crop up.
Even though you and I have been like friends longer than I have been unemployed, and I've tried to tell you all these things, but you don't listen.
But, I, with America, a lot of people back on the continent don't understand America. America doesn't care.
No.
The bills don't care. The bills come knocking and they're like, hello, your $200 payment is due in
right now.
2 days.
Yeah.
Like yesterday. Not even right now.
Yeah.
Like yesterday.
No, it's over. It's like past due. Right?
Yeah.
And I always tell people, like, for most of us, including people who are born in this country, people who say they own this country, 75% of people in this country do not have savings. They're hustling. We are being used like, remember like Western Union or the money transfer or whatever? So we are like Western Union. We take money from one set of wealthy people who are employers, and then we hand it over to another set of wealthy people, our landlords, the people who give us food, and the car company, the banks, and all this, Yeah. That's why, like, we look for, I'm getting paid on Friday. By Monday, I'm looking forward to the next payday.
So it's this rat race, and it's this hamster wheel that we keep running into constantly. It's crazy.
And the people don't believe us, like, when you tell them that, because the problem is, like, when you are out there, or you hear something like the median annual pay wage, salary of an American, the per capita income, you hear, it's $50,000, whatever. And then you convert it to Kenyan money. You're like,
oh my God, you're rich.
Whoa, that is, you mean in a year I'll be able to make 7 million? And you're in Zimbabwe. That's
oh my God.
$17 billion a month.
You're a multi-billionaire.
Freaking risk it and die. And nobody tells you, like, hey, That's $17 billion. Guess what? 15 of it is going to go to bills.
Yes, and taxes.
and taxes. And whatever is left, you're going to have to stretch it for a month.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, when they write down what the annual salary is, they don't take out the taxes.
No, they put it like before the taxes.
Before the taxes,
and you look at it and you're like, wow, I'm rich. I remember when I first came here, when I first came to this country, I was getting paid $4.40 an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, the minimum wage was like, I think it was like $3.75 under there.
Oh, you were rich.
Yeah, I was like above, and then I would convert. I think it came to like $40,000. Kenyan shillings a month. And I was like, I had a cousin who was just become a doctor, and that's how much he was making.
And you have this job that you didn't even have to go get a degree for.
I was washing dishes. I was cleaning floors and mopping floors and wiping tables. And I was like, look at me. He was like one of those cousins. Like everyone has like that cousin that thinks he's better than everybody. I was like, watch me, motherfucker. Watch me now. In a couple of years, I'm gonna make more money.
I know, yeah. Oh my God.
More money than any doctor. I'm gonna be building a hospital in Africa and employing you. But
of course.
30 years later, I am in broadcasting from my closet, trying to make things work.
I know. You're still hustling. The hustle is still going on. Yeah. It's just so crazy. There's just so much that goes on when you land in this country. I think someone said, when you land in America, it's like getting into a taxi. The meter never stops running. Yeah, and it just doesn't stop. Yeah. So how are you doing, Edwin? What's going on in your life? Other than your kids and your wife and your family, is there anything else that's going on in your life?
Positive? The kids are... I
positive.
Well,
let's do this. You're back to school in America.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, so kids are starting their next school year. It starts in August, goes through June. Or is it May or June?
It goes, so mid-June, Yeah, so
usually back in Kenya, it's like you dropped off at school and you're told bye. What happens here? What happened on your back to school?
Oh man, I'm telling you, like today we had to go to the school to bring supplies. So my kids are in a private school.
Ooh, you're rich.
No, I'm trying to cover my ass, like give them a good education, right? So that when I die, at least they can be able to pay off my debt, right?
Yeah.
But so we put them in this school, and when like it's a small school, isn't it? And really, it's like a nearby, and we pay. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
For the two of them, we pay about close to $20,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And
is it coming out of your pocket, or are you getting scholarships?
Out of my pocket, because out there like, we have scholarship, but if you're in a family of 4 and you make more than, I don't know, $60,000 you don't qualify.
That's the sad thing about America, ladies and gentlemen.
And they have this.
It's income driven. Everything is income driven.
So they say, we give scholarship. We're like, let's apply. And then you tell the kids and they're excited about it. And then like, oh my God, we're going to have to pay, because the kids are just like so invested, and they've gone to the school several times. And how they got me is like this Catholics, right? So they have like, that open house where they just like tell you about the school. And you know why I love Catholics?
Why?
More than the SDAs, the Seventh-day Adventists. You go to a Catholic event and there's like endless bottles of booze.
Wine.
So they go there like, their kids are coming, So not only that, we have to still buy them the supplies. And by the way, $20,000, that's like a cheap one, right?
Yeah, that's a cheap one. Yeah, it's true.
There are schools here, and I always tell people, like, if the school your kids go to, it does not have the word grammar in it, the name of the school, like grammar school, right? or prep school, preparatory school.
Preparatory.
Then
I
what?
remember those.
No, they still have them, right? They have them in the college prep schools, right? So from the beginning, kindergarten, they're called like a college prep. They're preparing you for college.
For college,
now,
yeah.
So if your kids are not going to any of that schools, then what they're going to is like a daycare, so you can go work at the plantation. And I did not want my kids. I said I'm going to sacrifice, and that's what we did. And that is why, in the last episode, we were talking about Project 25 that wants to eliminate public schools, all right?
Yeah.
And the only one where at least, kids can learn how to read and write, right? To be able, now they want to get rid of that, right? And so that this place, there was like a daycare that also teaches you some little basic skills here. You could read an instructions and be a plumber or whatever. Now they want to get rid of that, huh? Which is like really, really screwed up, which is why I could not understand. Last week, we talked about how we want, Kamala Harris being presumably, is it presumably? Or what is
presumptive nominee.
Presumptively. Wow. Okay, presumptively. I don't know.
And that's why your kids are going to prep schools.
And I did it.
So that they can teach you how to say presumptive.
Presumptively.
Wait, before we jump to Kamala, we were talking about your kids' first day at school. What was that process like for you?
Well,
like what happens during, like in Kenya?
Today was not the first day of school. It's Wednesday.
So what's the
we're recording 2 days before that. So
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what happened is they send you a list during the summer on all the supplies you have to get for each kid. So I've got 2 of them. And anything from pens and notebooks and pencil sharpeners and think of anything, everything, thankfully, except textbooks. Right?
Yeah.
So spent about $300 going shopping with these kids, right? So today, which is as we are recording, which was 2 days before the school begins, we were supposed to go and drop off the supplies there. Right? Some of these supplies are like community supplies. You go dump them in this one bin and they arrange it, and anybody can go over there and grab, which is
that's nice.
It's nice, right? And so I said, okay, kids, today I'm gonna take half of the day off to come and we go to school. And I show up and let's go down the list. They had taken some of these things they were supposed to take to school and opened them up and just started using and coloring the markers and all these like dumb painting them. Oh, Daddy, look, it's so cute. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's really ugly, but okay, I have to say it's cute because I'm in America, right?
Yes. So,
and then on Wednesday, I have got to take half a day off to drop him at school because first day of school for the kid, the youngest, she's going to be in first grade. And the oldest is going in 8th grade. So it's very important days for both of them.
For both of them, yeah. Last year of middle school and first year of elementary. That's really nice. I like that.
Yeah.
But I wonder if the process is the same in Kenya, where buying school supplies like exercise books, pens, papers. I know there's probably no communal like things, but I think the process I should ask my brother what because I know he buys school uniforms, shoes, as in there's back to school shopping day, which I used to go through, like me and my brothers and my sisters, we used to go through a back to school day where my dad would pack us all in the car preferably the weekend before we open school. And we go to School Outfitters or, I don't know, Sarit Center or whatever, and buy school uniforms, skirts, socks, shoes, blouses, sweaters. I mean, it was, I used to spend a lot of money.
Well, when you mentioned a car there, I was like, no, you are in a whole different class.
Really?
Because
not that the car was anything.
Oh, yes, it was
Special. Well, I grew up in Nairobi.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying, like, I grew up in a place where there was like one vehicle. It leaves for town in the morning at 5 a.m. You miss it, you wait until the next day. And then you miss it from the city. Coming back, Kisii town, you have to wait.
Wait till the next day.
And there was no shopping. And then I happened to have a father who was like, man, this guy was, so there was no shopping. He came home the day before school. He brought a toothpaste, shoe polish, toothbrush, right? The uniform we got at school because they were included in the fees. They paid the tuition fees, right? And just sent you to school. And soap, and laundry detergent.
Detergent. Oh, okay.
And then he gave me no money and he just said, I paid money for you to get food, and they send you to school. And we were going to a boarding school. You went to a day school.
But let me tell you, even in that day school, my dad never gave us any money because he was like, I've paid for your lunch. So that's what you're going to eat.
Exactly. But you came home and ate some good food.
No, there's no good. What good food? We ate whatever food we got, like ugali, sukuma wiki. We didn't even eat meat on a regular basis.
But guess
nothing
what?
like that.
So I understand what you're saying. But for me...
we are comparing apples and oranges. That's what we are doing.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, you were like on the apples because I didn't know what apples were. I saw oranges once in a while.
I never ate an apple until I came to this country. These were things that were way above our means. Yeah, but I never had an apple myself, honestly speaking.
So we are talking about the quality of life, the improvement in the quality of life, and which like every election is about. And we've got an election here in the United States. Right?
Yeah.
We talked about the lesser of the two evils. The Democratic Party, they've got Kamala Harris, right?
Yes.
And she's been nominated in a lot of African. You and I talked about with the last time, and then the last episode, we talked about how my wife was in this group of like thousands of people, women, and a lot of Africans. There's actually even an African thing right now. Are you the one who talked like there was like Africans who are going for, who want to come out in numbers greater than they did for Obama?
Yes.
But I understand that there are Africans, maybe not in the same numbers, who want Republicans to win. I mean, and I could understand that. When I was in the journalism school, I had this thought of finding an African immigrants who were Republicans.
Yeah.
And I put out a bulletin, and I found this lady who told me why she was Republican. She was very sensible. She talked about her faith. The church was very important to her. Years later, when Obama was running, I found a guy who's actually still a friend of mine, who became a friend of mine after that. A guy named Robert Ngu from Nigeria. And he said he was a Republican. When I interviewed him for Frontline PBS, he talked about how he loved the business side of it. Like they are more pro-business, right?
Yeah, yes.
So nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. And then comes Trump.
Yeah.
So now, this guy who was told us that we are from shithole countries, like vile, like he's far from anything that you can say, like if you believe in church and morals, so like, okay, three, 5 children from 3 wives, and this guy, divorced, 3 times, and infidelity with the current wife, and convicted criminal, and blah 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 blah. And to understand, like, I couldn't understand, but why, like, any African, and that's why I'm trying to understand. Like,
so I think for me, it's not Trump, it is Republican. So it is their ideology, it is their manifesto that people are drawn to. So it's right now Trump is the figurehead because he's very charismatic. So of course he's going to be like the dominant figure. But the Republicans generally are very conservative people. So they are more about the Bible, they're more about family, they're more about, those very conservative, strict ideals that a lot of Africans ascribe to that. Right? I mean, even if you go to the continent itself, we do ascribe to the conservative values of life. Like LGBTQ is out the window. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
To me, it takes me back to what we were talking in the last episode, where Democrats do not have the testicular fortitude their PR machine is not as powerful, because when you tell, like, oh, they're more family oriented, I'm not a Republican. I'm, in fact, like, I'm far more to the left than the leftists in this country, right? But what have I been talking about here? It's my family. Talk about my family. Yeah. So when we talk about family, there's these like dog whistles that they do, like a family that's like anti-LGBTQ, right?
But do you ascribe to the Bible and follow the Bible, like the 10 Commandments? Do you follow that? Do you go to church every day? I know you have family, but your idea of family and the idea of the conservative family are two different things.
Yeah, but the thing is, I've not been to church since I was 16. I was in high school. Or I take that back. I've been to church only like till when there was a girl I liked that I thought I could get, like, pretending to be. You see? So I've been there. But the thing is, I understand why, and as I said, I understand the Africans who say that they are God-fearing, and but what I don't understand is we saw this, and by Africans I mean Africans who came here willingly and those who didn't, right? So those who've been here for hundreds of years, who were brought here, those who from the Caribbean, that's what I mean, like, by Africans, right? So I have seen some among them to just go and say Trump, 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 and they are insulting. They're talking about how we need to stop complaining about racism. We need to stop complaining about injustice. You might have seen this, God, I don't even want to mention this clip on that crazy African woman. I mean, that's what I don't understand. So I understand someone saying business, they're pro-business. I'm interested in business. They're pro-Bible. The Bible is my companion. Like, my pillow is a Bible. I understand that, but the people who, I would think that those people, when it comes to Trump, they would say, that's where I draw the line.
I draw the line,
Christian.
And Trump is not even, he doesn't even go to church. He doesn't ascribe to the conservative nature of what the Republican is. Well, That's why I'm saying he's a charismatic leader. It's just his charisma that's carrying him along.
Is he charismatic or is it opportunistic? Because there's a difference between that. Because this is a guy who used to be a Democrat. He gave money to
Hillary Clinton and all that.
Yeah. I mean, it's from New York, right? And then Obama announces that he's going to run for president. All of a sudden, Trump comes out and he just like, this guy was not born in this country, and he just like completely, and he tested that for I think a couple of times running for right? And the second time he did, the unsuccessful time he did it, he notices that he was getting, and there's like now it's Twitter is here, right? The social media here, and he can go over there and say shit, and everybody's like eats out of his ass. Right? So he's like, oh man, I'm gonna eat some more corn and beans so I can shit all over so everybody can eat out of my ass.
You are listening to Africa Straight Talk. Subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find your podcast. Africa Straight Talk, Africa's unapologetic podcast.
And here's one thing a lot of Africans don't understand, right?
Yeah.
Whenever we hear about illegal immigration, we think people coming from south of the border, and most of them are.
Yeah.
But there are 2 million of us here. And I can guarantee you at least 75% of us know someone, either have someone in our family or a friend, or know someone who came over here, didn't come through the vote, came here legally and overstayed their visa.
And that's how it usually happens, right?
Exactly. For us.
Yeah.
Mostly,
So yes.
So here is someone who could go and just like freaking deport your kids, your mother, your relative, your friends, and yet there are Africans who are out there making noise. And as I said, I respect the people who say this is business, right? And here I have no hate. But when a guy comes over and because there's a shithole countries, Mexicans are rapists, and you still stand by him, you cannot tell me anything about religion. You cannot.
Yeah. And that's where the divide starts coming in, because it is you talk about you hold the Bible dear to your heart. Like every word in the Bible is being held to the light, right? You can't veer away from it. But then on the other hand, what you're doing on the ground is the complete opposite. Because if you look at all these verses, it's more like Jesus said, love one another as you love yourself, don't hate people. And, he who has no sin cast the first stone or something like that. And you're the first one doing it.
Yeah.
Because here in America, if you look at it, the Native Americans are the original inhabitants of this land. So anyone that came after that is an immigrant.
Right. You can talk your shit. I mean, if you come over here and you get your papers and you're doing well, and you can talk shit about anybody, but when you start talking shit about African Americans, telling them they are lazy, that they should stop shooting each other in the hood, as that person was,
that's right? Just wrong. Yeah,
that's just tells me you're trying too hard. Like you're not. I mean, like how the fuck stupid do you have to be able to say that we are all here, whether you are from India, from China, anywhere in the world. If you're an immigrant in this country, from a non-white, even from white. I mean, white women in this country, they are where they are because of the civil rights movement.
The civil rights
black
movement, yes.
people in this country died to create that, to make that. They suffered. They were lynched. And someone who, man, I saw that video. I want to just like, fuck, I wish like I want to invent something so I can jump into that video and kick somebody's ass. Like, and I just look, but I really like giving like the African American people she was talking to. Here's this woman can't even fucking speak English. And she's like yelling at him, like, oh, stop racing, blah, 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 blah. Oh, you stop killing each other. I was like, get out of this car. Kick your motherfucking ass. Send your ass to Africa. But, but that's what I was like, I would have just like jumped in there and did.
So, I know that's exactly what you'd have done, Edwin. I can see you standing up and actually, having a one-on-one with a very heated one-on-one with the young lady in the video. But my thing is, why waste your time? Lady? I called her young lady. Okay.
that's like when I see like people like on in the news, and I always like yelling at my TV when I hear this, like, oh, the gentleman who robbed the old lady. Like, what? Did you just fucking call him a gentleman?
People are trying to be civil,
A gentleman, because we have to be like, say the savage.
The savage that robbed. Fucking, I know, but you get canceled the minute you start saying savage.
No, I'm saying. But anyway, like.
I mean, I can see you having a heated argument with the lady in the video, but
in my youthful days.
My
youthful days.
Oh,
yeah.
Is this a new Edwin? Serious. What happened here?
No, because you know what? Again, you grow up. Some people don't. That old lady you're calling a young lady, she never fucking did grow up, right?
Oh,
so I grew up. I used to be. When you ask me about I would walk around and I would see these ladies to like, have you accepted Jesus Christ as your savior? And I would take that pamphlet they were offering and I would ask him, can you just by looking at me tell that I'm a sinner? And nowadays I'm like, no, I don't do it. I go, somebody just, I drove by a a church that was brand new last week. And I'm wondering, I'm like, what the fuck? Another church in Oakland? Do we need another church? Like brand new church.
Of course. I mean, churches will never.
No, this is a brand new. Like church attendance has gone low, especially in California. But somebody's thought, okay, let's build a new one and put a water fountain over there, whatever the fuck they did. Put like recess lighting, And I'm like, did they really build a new church? And as I'm like, I actually pulled off as I'm looking, this guy comes, I'm like, oh, hello, sir, how you doing? I'm doing, you look at a church, you're welcome. We just built a brand new church. I'm like, I'm kind of in a hurry. Here is a card. Come, we worship here. It has a schedule with the worship. And go to this website. And I was like, thank you. Oh, God bless you. I was like, yeah, God, thank you. And I drove off. Whereas in the past, I would have asked what I just asked. Do we need a new church? Like when I was younger. So I've learned to pick my fight and knowing that, you know what? These people, you cannot, especially when they get older, you cannot fucking. What do we say in Swahili? If you want to create a walking cane, you have to start bending the tree while it's still young, right? Once it gets to like too big to bend, then you have to force it with a saw, right?
Yeah.
and I don't want to do that. So I look at. I mean, once I get I find like young people and they try to bring church and I just like give them a lecture and tell them, you know what, I tell him what I think. I ask him, but I don't even like the way I used to be like this heated conversation, the way people like wanted to stab you. And this is a good Christian. Like, oh, you're insulting my Jesus, So I don't engage in those anymore, mostly because I'm a little heavier. I can't run if they pull out a knife, But the young people, I try to make them think. Ask him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hear you. But for me, back to why we have, and it's not, what am I trying to say here? The diasporans who are into the into Trump.
Trump, yeah.
Or Trump into the Republican, the new Republican Party.
The megalomaniacs.
The megalomaniacs. I mean, are they sticking in it because they're just looking at beyond Trump? Like, Trump is probably going to die at some point, and we're going to go back to what the Republican Party used to be, and they're like just hanging in there and holding on, like the way the Democrats were holding on when Biden was still holding on to the presidency.
Well, the thing is that these people are not stupid. As I said in the last episode, they feel exactly the same way about Trump as you and I do. That is a philandering, pussy grabbing motherfucker who should not be anywhere near the Bible, right? I mean, there's no way this guy should be leading it, but they say like, but we could use him to be able to create one nation under God because we have failed to do so, right? So, and one nation under God doesn't really, the people who want to create this doesn't really mean that they believe that they said one nation under God. Hell, I mean, a lot of these wealthy Republicans, right? They oppose things, especially social issues, because they know they're going to keep people riled up. They're going to keep telling people that we need to abolish the Department of Education because a college is not for everybody, and then your riches are in heaven, right? But they don't believe that. They do that because they know if you allow people, for example, to go to college, then they begin to ask questions. And I know this because the people that I went to school with that came from the South, the Midwest, the rural California, when they came in, I'll tell you, there were this lady who came to, when I was in my undergrad. And when we would talk about children starving, and she would be like, there is no fucking way any child is starving in America. It's a white lady. And then once we showed her evidence, because if you're going to college, you're going to be held, like you have to, here is the evidence. What do you say about this? And then she started, it's their fault, right? I started asking, I said, you and I are not close friends, but we are close enough for me to know that you are struggling to go to college here, right? That you don't come from money. Neither do I, right? But look at what you think about me, which is really what you think about yourself.
Yeah.
And that opened up to a point, like even today, she's one of my best friends, and she turned around because she met people who thought differently, who challenged and who were kind in the way they explained.
It reminds me of what happens in Africa. Generally, you have, politicians who want to keep the population at a certain level so that they can always it's about control and it's about power, right? So it's so crazy that here in America, you have a group of people, a political party that has that same thought and the same concept of, no, we want to keep people down at a certain level so that we don't have opposition. We can always control them.
But let me ask you something. Where do you think those Africans leaders you described learned that from?
Damn colonialists.
So you have to understand that in Africa, the form of government we have now, that's not our form of government.
Yeah, it's not.
Right? Right? So everything they're doing, the corruption, right? Everything, they learned it from here, right? That's why when you see the masters say, African presidents, we want you at the White House on Tuesday, they'll fucking get there. They'll drop everything they're doing because those are their puppeteers. This is where they learned it from, right? So even in those places, why, when I went to high school in Kenya, I had is in my last, the exam that qualifies you, KCSE, qualifies you to college.
Yeah.
I had a C minus. That was not good enough to get me to college because they did not build the colleges. Instead of building colleges to keep up with the population, there were 4 universities in a country of 25 million. So instead of them, they raised the bar, right? So that's what they are doing. Let's cut on education. Let's do this. So people, because if you keep them poor, then you can have them praying, keep praying and hoping and knowing and teach them that there's another life out there where you're going to be happy. So it's not just the Republican, it's a class, and this is what a lot of people don't get. When you look at the 2 parties, even before Trump, right? I mean, I would have voted for John McCain. I would have.
Yeah.
Why? Because he was sensible. He made sense. He talked to you and convinced you, right? And when Trump started talking about Obama, he was not born in this country. He's not American. He's a Muslim. And I remember very well, because I was in Minnesota at that time, McCain saying, like someone in Shakopee, Minnesota saying, oh, we can't have a Muslim president. John McCain stood up and said, he's not a Muslim. He stood up and said, he's not a Muslim. So at that time, I was like, if Obama wasn't Black, I would have voted for McCain.
Yeah. And that's what, and that's what we need to
go back
we need to be above the nonsense that goes on in politics, right? We need to look for sensibility in politics.
And again, either we do that or we start like dishing people their own medicine. Like, Trump has been talking about Sleepy Joe's memory and blah, 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 blah. And then he gets caught saying that he was in a plane. He almost died, in a
helicopter.
Like a chopper that had to make a landing. And he was with Willie Brown, the former mayor of San Francisco. And Willie was like, no, I wasn't me. No. It turns out he was with some councilman from LA. Yeah? So it's like, dude, can you take an aptitude test? But like we should be. But the reason it baffles me to see people who are of African descent say that they were going for Trump, is where is our common sense?
Yeah.
I mean, the white people, the Americans who fly the Confederate flag and they support him, you can understand them because they're afraid of losing power. They see that we are coming up as Black people. We no longer buy the bullshit about, white people are smarter than us, right? And it really, really, really scares them to have 2 Black people in our lifetime running for president. One of them got elected twice, and another one, it could be president. It really scares the shit out of them. But you can understand them because they were used to this privilege, right? So they are worried about it. So you as an African, what the fuck is your problem?
Yeah.
Can we end it there?
Yes.
No, unless you have something
your problem. No, I have nothing to say. I like that ending.
Yeah.
Please let us know what the fuck is your problem.
Your problem is. Yeah. If you want to let us know what your problem is, we are here.
AfricaStraightTalk@gmail.com. Let us know.
Right.
Because we really do want to understand. For real. Yeah. Common sense is out the door, but come on. Let us know.
Africa Straight Talk is presented by me, Edwin Okongo, and Haboshi Mbukwa, with a collaboration from Kwesi Wilson, host of the podcast Telling Tall Stories. Kwesi Wilson is on vacation in Ghana, and Papa Ufwe, Manuel Nado, will be back in our next show.
Find more episodes on our website, www.africastraighttalk.com. You can also find us wherever you find your podcasts. We are on X at Africans Talk, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram by searching Africa Straight Talk. And of course, don't forget to tell your friends about us. To become a sponsor of our growing podcast, email us africastraighttalk@gmail.com. Until next time, Baba Nani.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Papa Ufwe. Thank you for listening to this episode. We invite you to check back here for our next one. In the meantime, be safe, be well, and love one another.